no one's asking you to become an illustrator. And as a UI designer or UX designer, you might never actually be tasked with creating custom illustrations. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't kind of practice that skill, because it's going to be helpful in other areas as well. So I know that there's a module about photos and illustrations coming up soon, but knowing how to create simple illustrations like this one can really make a difference when you're working as a designer. So in this assignment, we're going to take all of the knowledge that we got about using layers and shapes and everything in Figma, and we're going to try to recreate this illustration with all of these hearts. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have a circle shape like this, and I'm going to have another one. Now, I don't know the exact placement where I would put this next to each other. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a rectangle. I'm going to rotate it. And I'm trying to figure out how big this needs to be. Oh, the rotation is not correct yet. Here it is, minus 45 degrees. And I think we can make it smaller to something like this. So one thing that you might do is try to create a heart shape like this. And you can grab all of these shapes and try to figure out where to make them overlap. But there's a different way that you can do it as well. And I'm going to remove this circle from here. So we have this and this. And I'm actually going to bring the rotation back down. And I'm going to position this in the exact spot like this. So you can see that now it's a little bit easier to position the shapes than to have them rotated like I had them first. And I just want to show you this because when you're first starting out with trying to recreate things in Figma, you might just see the end result, but there are also other ways to get to that end result without you having to work with like weird angles and stuff. So here's a little bit of a cheat sheet there. I'm going to grab this and place it in here in the correct spot. And I think that right now you're getting where I'm going with this. So I'm going to make a union out of it and then rotate the union shape. Just like this. It feels a little bit too big right now, but that's completely okay. Now what you can do is you can kind of flatten the shape into a single shape, or you can just go in here and figure out this one dot that needs a little bit of a roundness to it, like this, and okay, perfect. So we have the shape. I will actually flatten it because I do want to have larger control over how centering works. Right now, you saw it in here, how the edge, basically the frame that this shape is contained in, is still rotated. So if you flatten it, this becomes a new shape. And now you can see that centering actually centers things visually. So you don't have to like manually center things up and down. Now, one thing I do like to do is not work with half pixels. So I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller like this, and maybe usually you would try to get it to a point where all of the points are kind of aligned. So one thing that we might do in here is just like get to that point of trying to figure out what's the best number. So something like this is now on full pixels without me actually distorting the shape in any shape or form. Amazing. Okay, let's do another thing, and that's color this. And I also want to add a stroke immediately to it just so that I don't forget, because it's not really that noticeable. It's like really, really subtle. Okay, perfect. It might be a little bit bigger than this one, but that's not a point again of the assignment. Okay, so let's look at the eye and try to analyze how we're going to create it. So you can see that it feels like it's basically two circle shapes, one above the other. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's draw a circle like this, and let's draw another one like this, and let's take two of them and subtract them. Okay, again, maybe a little bit bigger, not too big of a problem. We can still work with that. If you want to be like fully pixel perfect, it's fully okay for you to go in here, go into the frame that you're working with. Let's see which one is that. It's this one. Unlock it and go to the shape to figure out what the size of it is. So you can see it's like 20 pixels off. That's not too much. You can see that this one is a subtract shape 4024. We have 56. So again, those things you can kind of go inside, and if you really want to be like pixel perfect, see what values I originally used when I drew this. But if everything else works, I wouldn't worry too much about like those things. Okay, so we're already progressing really well. I feel like this needs to be a little bit tighter. So yeah, maybe something like this. We have two oval shapes that are not perfect circles that represent this, the cheeks of the heart that we're designing in here. Okay. Let me see. I'm trying to basically get this to be like fully mirrored from left to right side. So I'm taking this shape and kind of measuring, oh, in here it's 40 and on top it's 112, 112 and 40 from this edge. So that's why it looks so centered. Then we also have another thing in here. It could be just like a shape like this that has two of the bottom corners created as corner radiuses. And honestly, I'm just going to do that. I feel like there's a slight roundness to these on the top as well, but it's not really coming out because of how rounded I made everything else feel. So I'm trying to hit it to a point where I'm happy with it. Yeah, this could be like one way to do it. The other way to do it would be to have a circle that's then rounded to create this shape. Maybe the only problem is the width of this item. So if I make it something like this, it already looks a lot better. Okay, let's color pick this. This feels like it has a stroke inside because something is blocking off this shape. And I'm not sure if those are the two same colors. It seems like it is the same color. So one way that I would maybe approach this is to create a stroke inside. Like this, and let's try to add this circle for the tongue. Okay, like this. It has a linear fill, so it goes from top to bottom. It's probably even more red, like this. And I need to mask it with a mouth. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to grab this to make a group out of them. I'm going to make this a mask. And now it is a mask that we can see. And the other thing I'm going to do in here is I'm going to duplicate the shape of the mouth, remove the fact that it's a mask, remove the fill, just keep the stroke and push the stroke above it to create this kind of overlap in here on the mouth. Again, with everything that we're doing in here with shapes and the way that things are organized, it doesn't mean that this is the only solution to create a mouth like this. It's just something that's, to me, felt the most natural way to do it. But there are other ways that you could have created the mouth. Like I could have duplicated the shape of the mouth, made it a little bit smaller, and then subtracted from the tongue shape, for example. Okay, and we almost have that ready. So the only other thing I can see is that this there is some kind of a blurry shape in here. So I'm going to use layer blur. I'm going to make it something a little bit bigger, and I'm going to grab it and place it right above this so that all of the other elements are above it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I feel like it might be even squeezed a bit like this and maybe even rotated to get it more to the shape on the left. And it seems a little bit lighter, so I'm just going to make it like this. Okay, now we have the first heart shape. I'm going to group it in here just to easily kind of position it if I need to. But overall, I feel like that shape is pretty good. The only thing that's really noticeably different are the eyes. So I can try to make it a little bit smaller. Maybe something like this, but again, not too big of a problem. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to remove all of the elements that are not reused in all of the other heart shapes that we have. So this is the only thing, and I'm going to use the scale tool like this to make the heart a little bit smaller without it impacting anything else. But one thing that happens when you use a scale tool is that also your strokes and blur effects are going to change. So we definitely wanted to have blur effect changed proportionally to something smaller like this, because it makes it look closer to what we need. But it also meant that the stroke is changed, so that's something that I would bring in. Oh, I've noticed one other thing. It seems like this entire shape of a heart has some kind of a shadow. So I'm just gonna make it like this. And it's really subtle, maybe something like 15%. Maybe even if I make it smaller like this, it's gonna be more noticeable. But yeah, this looks good. I'm gonna grab this shadow, place it to this element. I'm gonna duplicate it, use the shortcut for K, and just make it even smaller, rotate it by 90 degrees, and then just kind of place it so that it feels like it's... I want to have like a sense of alignment in here with this too. That's why I'm kind of repositioning it manually with a keyboard. I feel like these two are good. I don't think this one has the little blur effect. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it does. I'm gonna grab these two, group them, duplicate them, and flip them vertically. No, flip them horizontally, and place them in here. The only thing I do need to do is ungroup this and move it in here and flip that one horizontally so that it works. Okay. And that's it. We've created the illustration in here. Again, like some of the little details are still missing. Oh, one thing I'm noticing is these are casting a shadow. So I'm just going to do that before closing off this video. It feels like a really subtle shadow. So something like this. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. We're just using two oval shapes and one rectangle and then duplicating things around. We managed to create a pretty solid illustration that can be used for something like Valentine's Day, for example. So I hope you learned something. If you were struggling with this lesson, I hope that this solution video helped you a lot, and let's move on to the next one.